Hey everyone, and welcome to the deep dive. All right, let's dive into the stack of source material we've got here. We're talking reviews, notes, the whole lot, all about a machine that kind of throws down a challenge. The GMKtec AMD Ryzen 7 mini gaming PC. I mean, how much power can you actually squeeze into a box that's barely bigger than like a large external hard drive? Can something this tiny really do serious work, maybe even some gaming? So we're here to unpack the reviews, figure out what makes this particular mini PC tick, pull out the really interesting bits, and, understand who it's actually for. Get ready, because the sources really paint a picture of this thing punching well above its weight class.
Yeah, it's a great point because that's the immediate tension you see in the sources, right?
Yeah.
The sheer performance they're talking about versus how incredibly small it is. It definitely pushes against what we usually think of when we imagine powerful computers.
Okay, so let's start right there with that size challenge. Just how mini is it? The sources really lean into the form factor. They say it's incredibly compact. The total volume is under 2 liters.
That's right. And one comparison I saw in the notes, which I thought was quite good, was that it could almost double as a paperweight. Or you might mistake it for, really sleek external hard drive. It's definitely designed to be tucked away.
But is it flimsy, being that small?
Well, that's the thing. Despite the size, the sources note the build quality is remarkably well put together. It uses a matte black aluminum alloy, partly, though there's plastic too. But crucially, it feels solid according to the reviews. Not like something you'd be constantly worried about denting.
Okay.
And the design, it's got ventilation grills, obviously needed, but they're worked in pretty subtly, sides and rear. And it have this reassuring heft, the source mentioned, which is good. Avoids that cheap, plasticky feel you sometimes get. Feels built to last, maybe even be moved around a bit.
Right. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though, tackling that power challenge. What's actually inside this little box? The sources are highlighting some pretty serious components. It's built around an AMD Ryzen 7 8A845HS processor.
Yeah, and that's a critical detail. The review points out this is actually a laptop-grade chip, the CPU, the computer's brain. They use these mobile chips because, well, they offer high performance, but they're more power efficient and generate less heat compared to big desktop ones. Essential for a small case. And the 8845HS is quite powerful. It's got 8 cores, 16 threads, means it can juggle a lot of tasks at once. The specs and the sources say its clock speed can turbo boost up to, 5.1 gigahertz? That's gigahertz, the speed measure. Pretty impressive for a chip in this kind of package.
And it's got the memory and storage to back that up too, right? I saw 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM and a 1 terabyte PCIe 4.0 SSD in the notes. Can you quickly break down what that actually means for, using it?
Absolutely. So 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, that's your random access memory. It's a lot of high-speed memory. 4,800 megahertz is the speed. RAM is where the computer keeps stuff it's actively working on, so more and faster RAM means smoother multitasking, handling bigger files, that sort of thing. And the 1 terabyte SSD, solid-state drive, that's your main storage. PCIe 4.0 is just a very fast connection standard for it. What the sources really emphasize is the result of having both. Exceptionally rapid load times.
Like how rapid?
We're talking booting into Windows 11 Pro in under 10 seconds. And launching big programs is described as almost instantaneous.
Wow. Almost instantaneous. That sounds amazing for productivity. So day to day, what does this mean for you, the user?
It means, according to the review, the machine just breezes through multitasking and content creation. Think about like your typical workflow, switching between Office apps, tons of Chrome tabs. Source says it's frictionless, need to do some, say, 1080p video editing or batch process a bunch of photos. It's capable. The review even mentioned it handled recording a podcast okay with clean audio through a USB interface.
Okay, so pretty versatile.
Yeah, and for more demanding creative stuff, the notes called it a godsend, like editing 4K video or managing huge photo libraries. That strong CPU and fast storage really help there. Oh, one small thing the sources did note, though. If you want to add a second M.2 drive for more storage, getting the case open apparently requires a bit of patience.
Good to know. Okay, so clearly a productivity powerhouse for its size. But the name. Mini gaming PC. Let's hit that. What about gaming just with the graphics that are built in, the integrated Radeon graphics?
Right, and this is where the source is very clear. Manages expectations. Integrated graphics, the iGPU, it's part of the CPU chip itself. They're just not built for topping leaderboards in really demanding AAA games, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider cranked up to ultra settings. No, this box isn't going to replace a full desktop with a big dedicated graphics card if you want max frame rates in the latest, shiniest games.
So is the gaming PC label just like marketing fluff then, or can it actually play some games?
Oh, no, not at all. The sources say it's perfectly serviceable for a lot of popular esports titles. Think games like Rocket League or League of Legends. The review says you can get respectable frame rates,
Huh.
especially if you're okay with turning the graphic settings down to medium, maybe low, and less demanding games, older titles, handles them quite well. So yeah, light or moderate gaming, definitely possible. Cutting-edge AAA stuff, not without help.
Okay, and that brings us nicely to a really key feature mentioned in the notes, something that tackles that limitation head on, the Oculink port. This feels like a really important piece of the puzzle for that gaming PC name.
It absolutely is. And it raises that question about flexibility, future-proofing. Oculink is basically a high bandwidth connection specifically designed for hooking up external devices like dedicated graphics cards. The source highlights why it's significant. It means you're not locked into the iGPU forever. You have the option later on to plug in an external GPU, an eGPU setup, if you decide you do want to play those heavier AAA games at better settings.
Ah, okay. So you start with the built-in graphics, which are fine for some stuff, but you can add serious power later if you need it.
Exactly. It's a feature you often see on these higher-end mini PCs, and it really adds a layer of upgradability you don't normally get in such a small box. Counters that fixed nature.
Right. Now, what also seems fascinating, looking through the review, is the connectivity beyond Oculink. For something this small, it seems to have a really comprehensive set of ports. That feels like it tackles another mini PC challenge practicality.
It's genuinely generous, almost unexpectedly so for the size. Around the back, you get two HDMI 2.1 ports. Those are the good ones. Support high resolutions and refresh rates up to 4K at 120 Hz, or even 8K at 60 Hz. Plus, there's a USB 4 port back there that also handles DisplayPort 1.4 video output.
So you could run multiple monitors easily.
Yeah, easily run multiple high-res monitors at the same time. The source notes it's ideal if you spend your days leaning on twin-screen setups, maybe even 3, depending on the monitors.
Okay, and what else is packed in besides display ports?
Plenty of USB connections for all your stuff. You've got 2 fast USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A ports for modern devices, hard drives, whatever. 2 older USB 2.0 ports, still useful for keyboards, mice, simple dongles, And that versatile USB 4 Type-C port we mentioned, which handles data, video, sometimes power, depending on the device. And for networking, you're exceptionally well covered. Dual 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports, Wi-Fi 6, and Bluetooth 5.2.
Wait, dual Ethernet ports? That seems kind of unusual for just a regular desktop replacement. The source seemed to like that.
They really did. The review specifically highlighted the benefit of having 2 of these faster 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports. It's Gbit, the speed measure. They called it perfect for those who want to share this unit in a small home server or network-attached storage NAS setup.
Ah, like using it for network storage.
Exactly. A NAS is just a dedicated box for files on your network. With 2 ports, you could potentially use this mini PC as a router or firewall, maybe dedicate 1 connection to a fast network drive. It really underlines how versatile this machine could be beyond just sitting on a desk. And of course, you still have Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2 for all your wireless needs, streaming, headphones, everything. The Ethernet is just a really robust wired option.
Okay, one of the big worries with small, powerful PCs is always heat and noise. How does this GMKtec actually manage the heat from that Ryzen 7 chip? What did the review find?
Yeah, that's a critical challenge, right? Putting powerful stuff in a tiny space. The sources say it uses an internal heat pipe system, basically sealed tubes with liquid inside that pull heat away from the CPU towards cooling fins, where fans can blow the heat out. And the review noted that even under heavy, prolonged load, like stress testing the CPU at 100% or during intense gaming, the system kept the processor temp below 90 degrees Celsius.
Which is okay for these chips.
Yeah, that's well within the safe operating limits for this type of mobile processor. It didn't seem to be throttling heavily due to heat.
Okay, that's good. And what about the noise? When those fans are working hard to keep it cool, does it sound like a jet engine?
Yeah. Well, the reviewer stated the fans do spin up under load. You definitely hear them then, as you'd expect. But the description was that the noise level never felt oppressive. They mentioned you'll notice it if you're sitting really close in a dead quiet room, sure. But it wasn't distracting during normal work, like writing or even during conference calls. And that's pretty key for something living right there on your desk.
And when it's not working hard?
Crucially, yeah, when it's idling or just doing light office work, the fans slow right down. To a whisper, basically. The review described it as practically inaudible in those lighter scenarios, which is quite an achievement for something this powerful and small.
Right. So, okay, let's connect all this to the bigger picture then. Given everything we've unpacked from the sources, the powerful laptop chip, fast RAM and storage, all that connectivity, decent cooling, the eGPU option, who does the review suggest this machine is really for?
Well, the sources kind of frame it as an elegant balancing act, between raw performance and just how convenient and small it is. It doesn't try to be a replacement for a massive desktop tower if your only goal is pushing insane frame rates in brand new games at ultra settings. But for the right person, the review calls it undeniably compelling.
And who is that ideal user, based on what we're seeing?
Based on pulling it all together from the sources, it's someone needing a really versatile space-saving workhorse.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who really values desk space, maybe portability, but doesn't want to compromise too much on speed. It seems perfect for a neat home office setup, or maybe even a living room PC that can do more than just stream movies. It's for the user who's happy with the integrated graphics for now for productivity, lighter gaming, but really appreciates having that Oculink port as an option. A potential GPU upgrade down the road if their needs change.
So it kind of grows with you, potentially.
Exactly. The overall vibe from the source material is that for that kind of user, this mini PC really punches well above its weight. It successfully delivers that high-end CPU power, the fast components, tons of connectivity, all in a tiny, generally quiet package.
So wrapping up what we've seen from the sources, it's a mini PC that really takes on that size challenge head-on, packs in surprising processing punch, handles serious work, offers decent lighter gaming, but with that Oculink path to more serious stuff. Plus, exceptional connectivity, those dual Ethernet ports still surprise me a bit, and it manages heat and noise pretty effectively for what it is. It really does seem like a blend of power, size, and versatility.
It definitely makes you reconsider what's possible in a small form factor these days. It's pretty impressive engineering.
Yeah, which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on after this deep dive. With mini PCs like this one packing so much performance, so much connectivity, and even offering significant upgrade paths like Oculink, does this signal a shift? Could the traditional big desktop tower, the one under the desk taking up legroom, eventually become less common, maybe even the exception, even for people who need serious performance? Something to mull over.